All right, today we're diving into the story of Telangana, one of India's youngest states. It was only formed back in 2014, but it's already shot up to become a real economic powerhouse. And here's the twist. It's doing all this while rolling out some of the most ambitious social welfare programs in the country. It's a real high-wire balancing act. So how are they pulling it off?
You know, ever since it was created, Telangana has been on this incredible growth spurt, quickly becoming a major player in India's economy. But to really get a handle on the scale of what they've achieved, we've got to look at the numbers.
So, check this out. In the 2022-23 fiscal year, Telangana's gross state domestic product, that's basically the total value of everything made in the state, grew by a whopping 16.4%. And, as you can see right here, that's more than 2 full percentage points higher than the national average. So the state isn't just growing, it's actually outpacing the rest of the country.
And because it's consistently growing so fast, Telangana's piece of India's total economic pie has now reached a full 5%. Now, that might not sound like a huge number on its own, but it shows just how vital this young state is becoming to the entire national economy.
So, the big question is, where is all this growth coming from? Let's peel back the layers and take a look at the specific sectors that are really fueling Telangana's economic engine. Well, it turns out the state's economy is really dominated by one massive player. Over 60% of Telangana's economic value comes from the services sector. I mean, this isn't some balanced mix. This is an economy that's heavily powered by modern industries like tech and finance. The more traditional sectors like industry and agriculture are playing much smaller, supporting roles.
And when you look inside those big sectors, you find some real heavy hitters. Get this, Telangana produces 1/3 of all of India's vaccines. That makes it a global pharma powerhouse. And of course, Hyderabad is a world-renowned IT hub. The state's top exports aren't just raw materials, they're high-value goods like pharmaceuticals. Even in heavy industry, the state-run Singareni Colliers mined a record 70 million tons of coal just last year.
But what about agriculture? Even though its share of the economy is getting smaller, it's still where almost half the state's workforce is employed. So the government is pouring in a ton of support, things like the Rithu Barasada scheme, which gives direct financial aid to farmers, and huge crop loan waivers, all designed to boost productivity and help farmers make a living.
And that brings us to the other side of Telangana's story. All this economic growth is generating a lot of revenue, and the state has made a very clear choice to funnel a huge chunk of it directly into social support programs. Let's see how they're doing it. You know, a government's budget really tells you what it cares about. And for 2024-25, over 21,000 crore rupees are set aside just for the welfare of scheduled castes. There are also huge funds for scheduled tribes and other historically disadvantaged communities. You combine that with almost 20,000 crore for agriculture, and you're looking at a massive, state-led push for social equity.
Now, the centerpiece of this whole strategy is a program called Praja Palana, which translates to People's Governance. It's basically this huge social safety net that bundles together 6 major guarantee schemes. We're talking about things like the Chehyuta pension for vulnerable groups and Gruha Jyoti, which gives free electricity to eligible households. The whole idea is to make these benefits easier for everyone to access.
And just to give you a sense of the scale of these programs, think about this number, 35,700.
That's how many local community centers, called Angawadi centers, are spread across Telangana. These places are the bedrock of support, providing everything from nutrition to health services to preschool for women and young children. It just shows the incredible on-the-ground scale of these initiatives.
And it doesn't stop there. Another program, called Arogya Mahala, has already screened nearly 500,000 women by setting up healthcare services dedicated specifically to them. It's just another example of a really targeted program making a massive impact.
Okay, so we've got a booming economy, check. A massive welfare system, check. But Telangana's also looking ahead with some seriously ambitious plans for the future. And this brings us to the central question. How on earth can the state afford to do it all?
The ambition here is just undeniable. They're planning a 340-kilometer regional ring road around Hyderabad, a huge redevelopment of the Musi River front, a brand new skill university to train the workforce of the future, and even an international school in every single administrative block. I mean, these are nation-building level projects.
And you know what? The world is taking notice. At the World Economic Forum in Davos this year, the state locked down over 40,000 crore rupees in investment commitments. That's not just a little jump. That's nearly double the amount from the year before. It's a huge vote of confidence from the global community.
But this is where that balancing act gets really tricky. And to understand why, we need to quickly talk about one key term: the fiscal deficit. Simply put, it's the gap between what a government earns and what it spends. It's a super important measure of its financial health.
And this chart, well, this is where you can see the tension. Back in 2021-22, Telangana's fiscal deficit was 4.1% of its economy, while the average for similar states was way down at 2.73%. A higher deficit just means the government is borrowing more money to pay for everything, and that can create a lot of financial pressure down the road. It's the direct result of spending so much on both development and welfare. And that brings us right back to the crucial question. Telangana is firing on all cylinders. It's attracting investment, it's building massive projects, and supporting its people. But can it keep up this incredible momentum while also making sure it stays financially stable for the long haul? That is the state's ultimate economic balancing act.